Well, Congress narrowly averted a government shutdown over the weekend as lawmakers passed a temporary stopgap bill.
Yeah, but not everyone is happy with the deal that Speaker Kevin McCarthy made. He pushed it through with the help of Democrats at the 11th hour.
I do intend to file a motion to vacate against Speaker McCarthy this week. I think we need to rip off the Band-Aid. I think we need to move on with new leadership that can be trustworthy. The only way Kevin McCarthy is Speaker of the House at the end of this coming week is if Democrats bail him out. Now, they probably will.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitali is following all of it from her post right outside the Capitol. Ali, we just saw Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz say that he intends to file a motion to try to remove Speaker McCarthy from his post this week. He's been threatening that for a while. What would that look like?
What it would look like, according to the conversation that I and a few other reporters here just had with the congressman, is that he would put up this motion to vacate as many times as he wants. It sounds like just because he would likely fail in ousting the speaker with whatever he does this week, and he wasn't specific about when he would do a motion to vacate, simply saying that today is a fly-in day when most of his colleagues aren't in town, and so instead he would wait to another day, TBD this week, and to actually put up the motion to vacate. He doesn't think that he has the votes to oust McCarthy right now. We pressed him on the idea that McCarthy said he thinks that he'll survive this and he'll be fine. But when we asked Gaetz if this was just something that he would do in perpetuity, he said that McCarthy himself went through 15 rounds of balloting to get the speaker. And so Gaetz thinks that he could do this maybe 15 times before he feels that he's being irresponsible with throwing the House that he serves in and is part of the majority in into chaos. The other thing that I pressed him on was the idea that to McCarthy, this feels personal. Gaetz was able to lay out several policy pieces that to him make motioning to vacate warranted, including the fact that McCarthy promised them earlier this year that they would have 72 hours to read bills. Of course, they did not have 72 hours to read the bill that was passed to avoid a shutdown on Saturday. There were several other policy disagreements that he made. Nevertheless, if you thought that this might not just be for television, Gaetz at one point thought to chastise me because I was getting in the way of a soundbite. So he is very concerned, it's clear, with the media coverage. And I'll bring you into that scrum right now because we just got footage of him in. Check out just part of that conversation. What do you say when he says that this is personal for you?
You know, for some people, policy failures are recast as personal because their own failures are personally embarrassing to them. This isn't personal. I can cite to you the specific elements of House rules that have been violated.
And again, Gaetz did cite some of those rules that were violated as part of the deal that McCarthy made with his hardliners to get the speakership in the first place. But the other key piece of this is a question I asked him later, which was, if not McCarthy, then who do you want for speaker? Gaetz said he didn't want to name names at this point. He pointed, for example, to the #2 Republican, Steve Scalise. The fact that Scalise is going through cancer treatment right now, which thankfully is going very well. But Gaetz said he didn't want to speak out of turn if Scalise could be someone that's up for the job. Nevertheless, you can't replace McCarthy with nobody, and right now, Gaetz isn't proffering a name for that.
You know, Ali, here's the thing. I think a lot of people at home are watching and thinking, what are they doing long term? Because all they did Saturday was kick the can down the road. We're going to be in this situation again in 45 days. Is anybody working on a long-term plan to fund the government?
Wouldn't that be great? And truthfully, they are, in this instance, taking these 45 days to try to get the time that they need to put an appropriations package together. There's been a lot of conversation about the 12 appropriations bills and how Congress only got through a few of them. That's true. The goal would be to get through all 12, but there's disagreement on what that spending total even should be. So that's why this is still an active crisis.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.